So welcome friends to a brand new episode of Building Blocks. Today it's a pleasure for me to have with me here Nav Grewal. So he owns a real estate practice. It's called Diversity.law. He has offices in Brampton as well as Oakville, and he has helped quite a few clients of our company, and he has been very professional, and his communication also is very top notch, and very professionally he handles the entire sale and purchase when for a lawyer perspective. So welcome Nav to our Building Block series, and I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Mudit.
So I have a list of questions for you. So the first one which I have here is that what is the difference between an assignment sale and a regular resale transaction?
I would start with the very basic thing, which is very important, and the client should understand how they're going to proceed. So the first one is they have to understand what is the sales and purchase agreement, or the purchase or sale agreement, and the assignment. Basically, assignment is a subcontract.
Okay.
It's not the main contract.
Right.
And it is depending on the main contract, the contract between builder and the purchaser, the original purchaser.
Okay.
So we are dealing here with the two contracts,
right?
Not the number one. And they have to confirming to the original contract itself.
Okay.
They cannot go beyond that. Right. They have to abide by all the terms and conditions of that original contract. We can say it's a hard part of the transaction, that the parties involved in here are quite large in number. There can be any number of I have dealt one transaction where the party the original purchaser consists of 5 people.
Wow.
And again, some of them have their individual lawyers.
Right.
And at the end, we came up with the total number of 12 parties.
Great.
In a normal to normal, the minimum one is fixed at 6, what I perceive, 6.
Yeah.
One purchaser, one builder, their lawyer, the original purchaser, their lawyer, and the assignee, which is we work for.
Right.
And of course me. So we got to have 6 minimum entities.
Yeah.
And everyone is securing their interest.
Right.
So the things can become more complex and more cumbersome, and more formalities are involved. And moreover, the costs involved are on a higher side. Okay. Because of the involvement of the 3 lawyers, 2 contracts, and many subcontracts which are part of original declaration of the condos,
okay.
Reviews of the status certificates, and the transaction property searches, title searches, searches of the parties itself. So the thing is that it's not a normal transaction. So we have to make sure that our client understands what they are buying, how much they have to arrange for the closing, and how much increase in or more they have to spend on the assignment sale vis-a-vis they would have been spending on the original sale or the resale.
Right.
And the most important these days is the capital gain and the HST, which the government has become so strict on that. So none of the transaction now go without the HST, okay, and the capital gain. And I would recommend all the entities involved in signing the agreement at the first stage to go for it, and specifically mention each and every term of the HST, who's going to pay the HST. I had a very interesting case recently where the realtor and the parties put the in addition word in the main text, and later on in the schedule they were just explaining that the HST would be the responsibility of the seller. Right. However, it was opposite, because in the main text we already mentioned it. And there was a back and forth going with the lawyers, back and forth going with the clients, and at the end, I was representing the assignee, so we have to pay, right, and he was upset about it, but we cannot do anything. So I would recommend that these sections should be very thoroughly understood, reviewed, as well as be put into the terms.
And if I'm a seller or a assigner, and I'm looking to, sell my property by virtue of assignment, what I should take care, or what necessary permission I need to take from the vendor or the builder. So can you tell something about
Yes, like again, most of the transactions are same. However, for seller, it's on the lighter side. The only catch here is that he cannot advertise.
Okay.
So he has very limited pool of the
Resources.
probable buyers and all that stuff, and he should always go for a very reputed reality or the realtor who knows the assignment, like process of dealing with the assignment sale. And they also, like I'm sure you must be like keeping tab of the clients who go for assignment sale and who want to purchase for the assignment without seeing for the advertisements. And so the catch is that like they cannot advertise.
Right.
So if you have a good base as a realtor, so you can definitely have a good clientage, and clients can rely on you on that. Number one. Number two, the same thing. So they have to be knowing the parties, like whom they are dealing with. So if they are their statuses, they need to check it beforehand, like they are resident, not the resident, how many parties are involved. And secondly, they have to take permission. Of course, they have to take approval if the approval is from the builder, and builder is asking, or they have stipulated already any binding clause in the agreement of purchase and sale that they cannot sell even, or they cannot gift even, or they cannot dispose of the property in any way. So that's an impediment. Or there's a huge fees involved, and they have to decide who's going to pay the fees. Actually, it's a responsibility of the seller.
Right.
So they have to go through the main text, main agreement, main contract first. And if they are approved, if they are kind of having everything like go ahead from the green signal from the builder, then they can vouch for, like they can contact the buyer for the property.
And yeah, so I would just like to add that when we do such things, we do have a clause in assignment agreements where there is a clause that the agreement will need to be reviewed by the assignee's lawyer or assigner's lawyer as well. So just so that they can review the original APS between the vendor, which I mean to say the builder, and the original purchaser, and before it comes to the new assignee. And then finally, as Nav pointed out, this agreement needs to be approved by the builder also, which is called vendor consent. So until and unless the builder approves the new agreement between the assignee and the assigner, it's not done. So once all these three parties come into agreement, then only it comes an assignment sale. So the first part is agreement between the assigner and the assignee.
Yeah.
And then the second part is all of that agreement with the loan approvals and stuff goes to the vendor, the builder, and then they approve. Their lawyer basically looks at it and does the legal formalities. And mostly they will charge a fees for that. And that fees generally, as Nav pointed out, is given by the seller or assigner. And it totally depends on how you negotiate the agreement.
In my like checklist is both a buyer for like it's for both of them. Like they should have control and possession of the documents, post-closing documents, because you never know, like maybe like after 2 years they may get some notification from some department that we need this thing.
Right.
And they should like catch hold of those documents forever.
Okay. Now, next one, Nav, I have for you is that what are some finer points and intricacies which one should keep in mind when they are getting into a condo purchase?
Again, the condo purchase, as I mentioned earlier too, the physical know-how is very important for the client. So first of all, they have to decide what area they are specific about, what is closer to their like place of work, their school, if they're having kids, the schools, and do search about the area, about the builder, about the schools in the vicinity, and the crime rate as well. These are the things, like some of the things they deteriorate the property value, maybe later on, maybe like in the future. So it's better
from legal standpoint, from documentation standpoint.
So I'm coming to that. Like the first part is because the client has to tell us, like when we call him in the office or her in the office, so we like sit with the client and we want to discuss like what is your observations, whether you have some concerns about that property, whether you went to see the common elements, what shape like they are in. So are they are good in shape, they are well maintained, the building is good. So these are all things come from his observation or the realtor's observation. So we are here to secure his title, like whatever he's buying, he should get the whole package, not the like anything missing is on our part. So we missed our duty. So these are the things like the type of building, the common elements, the fee, like what is included in the common elements, and is there any legal obligation on the condo itself? Is there any legal notices issues on the condos or this particular unit? Are there any alterations or modifications in the unit or the common element by this unit owner, the earlier unit owner? These kind of things they have to, and more of, or like we perceive just 1 year in future that there will not be any more expenses added on the common elements. However, we cannot be sure about it because it's very fluid. Like it depends on at what time they have taken up some new initiative in the building or something. But the client can see it's like it's happening over there. Some construction is going on there. So these kind of things, and the usage. Some restrictions are there in the condos, like they cannot sublet, they cannot go for the short-term rentals, and that's a very big problem in the Toronto. However, like government is kind of liberalizing some of the stuff. However, it depends on the condominium management whether they allow it or not. And these are the things like they should be aware of beforehand. Legally, like we see that the building is situated at a proper zoning area. The condominium fee has been paid. The insurance is in place. Everything is intact as per the title of the property. So these are the legal side of it. However, I would recommend like both are equally important, and they need to be covered by client itself, by us as well.
And what is special assessment, when we talk about status reviews and stuff for a building?
Special assessments are done by I think you are talking in terms of the city assessments.
No, I'm so more on the terms of like in status, I hear a term special assessment, that the building has some special assessment which have been audited in the building. So they have a
yes, those are the things like which comes suddenly and you never know, and we cannot be certain of those. Something happens to a wall. Suppose the car bangs into a like outer wall of the condo. So these kind of it's one example. It's not limited. However, I'm just taking for the convenience. I'm taking this example. So those kind of things can be instantly come to the like condominium management. So they have to spend money on that.
Right.
So in one of case I had, I think last year, there was one condominium. They have installed some geothermal plant.
Okay.
But it's very good for the future of the building and all that stuff. However, my client was not happy. So he asked me to do more inquiries, like what exactly it is. Might be he was not aware of what equipment they are putting. But there was an increase in management fees in the near future. So later on, we figured it out like it's a benefit of the building and it's adding value to that. So these kind of provisions are put into the budget or in their special bylaws or resolutions. So we have to take care of those as well. If we see it, we have to take care of it.
So when we purchase a low-rise condo townhome, a 2-story condo townhome, or a 3-story condo townhome, so there, when the title is transferred, is the front driveway and the backyard is part of the title? Or no?
My answer would be yes or no.
Okay.
So because again, it depends on the planning itself, like the subdivision plan itself, the map itself, the part of building itself, whether like we have to go through all the documents, declarations even of the condominium. Easements, we have to look at the easements, like how much absolute possession or absolute kind of ownership the client has or may have later on. So it depends on all the documents, whether if it is showing in the maps, reference plan, subdivision, and it's like consonnating with the declaration itself, then we can say that yes, it's a part of it. And there's no easement, like no major easement that alters their right of enjoyment of front and back. So if maybe there are like electricity wires going from the garage or something, like garage, the ramps or the backyard. So there may be like a telephone company or the internet company liens on it. So it depends. So generally, if it is shown in the plan reference, then yes.
What inspired you to become a real estate lawyer? I know it's been, I think, almost 5 years.
Yes, it's more than 5 years now. My family was very inclined to have like possessions. They were very serious about their properties. Like they were into agriculture properties too. So the interest like kindled from there. But the legal field in India is, I would say, it's totally different because there like 90%, 80% of the work is litigation based. It's not a transaction based the way it happens here. So when I moved to Canada and I prepared for my bar and all that stuff, I found this thing is very, very core to the values, core to the people, near to the people. So it's the most valuable position of the person having in his whole life, after health, of course. So I want to make the change and add value to that particular aspect of the people's life.
Nice.
So from the very beginning, I was responsible. I take task on people's behalf and do their stuff for them. However, coming back here, so on the real estate particular perspective, so I like dealing with the most important. I feel enriched by this. That's why I chosen this field, and I'm continuing in it.
Good. No, great. And you are doing a good job.
Thank you so much.
I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. I'm so much pleasure to be part of this initiative, and it's really amazing to cultivate like clients like that, which are like participative, and I would compliment that thing. Definitely, I will be part of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So thanks everyone for your time today, and I will see you in our next episode for Building Blocks. Till then, stay positive and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.